Sorry for the slight delay, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Cawthon, and I'm the Communications Manager for DeKalb County. Today we're here to have a brief update about the water main break here. And this is Ann Zimmerman. She's a sign language translator, so please include her in your video so that everyone will have an opportunity to know what's going on here. And we will have Reggie Wells, our Acting Director of Watershed Management, who will be coming to speak, and followed by him, Chief Sue Leffler from DeKalb Emergency Management Agency. So, Reggie.
Good evening. Thank you guys for taking the time to allow us to update the customers we serve. We are making substantial progress. I'll get to, we've completely isolated the break. As earlier, we've assessed that we ultimately have to replace what appears to be 2 to 3 joints of ductile iron pipe. I apologize for the commotion. The rock behind us is ultimately to begin to build a foundation after we remove a lot of the saturated soil from a lot of the water that we lost. So it's very essential. That's why we want to get that in there before we can begin building a base to relay the new line. Pressure has been completely restored to certain portions of the county. It continued to increase in others. The system is normalizing and recovering well. We've also been able to get Beaufort Highway completely reopened. Luckily, there wasn't any detrimental impact to it. So traffic is back on it, and we're continuing to make progress, and we hope to have the line repaired in the next day or so. We plan to work around the clock and won't stop until we do just that.
Any idea what caused it?
Not exactly. What we actually believe right now is damaged storm sewer that's running either parallel or perpendicular. It's showing indication that it may have collapsed, which ultimately eroded the support of the ductile iron pipe, and actually it collapsed under its own weight. But we won't know until we could get the hole completely dewatered and all utilities exposed.
I talked to GDOT this afternoon. They said as far as Beaufort Highway goes, their engineers, I guess you could say, assessed it there. The southbound curb lane had some damage to the cord, but they said further updates and info would have to come from DeKalb County on that. Do you have any info how extensive the damage is there? Will repairs be necessary?
Yes, so as the roadway continue to dry out, we'll be able to assess farther, but basically what was happening, we wanted to do cores to see if we detected any voids. There was none, no substantial voids or subgrade damage to the roadway at this time, which is why we felt it was safe to put traffic back on.
So there might be some damage there, but it's safe enough for drivers to be on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not anything detriment that would collapse the roadway and endanger any traffic.
Real quickly, can you just put it in layman's terms for our viewers? Some of them are at home having a hard time understanding how this little 60-foot of pipe impacts the whole county. How does what's happening here impact that?
So ultimately, it's important to note that although it's 60 linear foot of this portion of system, this is a 48-inch transmission main, which is tied directly to our drinking water plant. It's one of 4 main transmission mains that we got that serve the entire county. So given that it's that size line, a 48-inch in diameter, the fact that 60 linear feet of it is damaged is pretty substantial.
Give us a sense of just sort of what a mammoth undertaking. I mean, when that call comes in, and we kind of start having an understanding of what happened. I mean, one, what's going through your mind, and 2, give us a sense of how big a deal this is.
So always the first thing that comes to mind is public health and safety. We begin at all times to assess any endangerment to the public, and at no time do we really want to be in a situation where we have a pressure loss in water to a magnitude where we have to enter a boil water advisory. But to err on a side of caution, given the size line, what we knew about it, and the volume of water that we was losing, and the pressure was decreasing rapidly, we wanted to issue that immediately. But minutes are like hours. It's a stressful situation till you ultimately can get it isolated and pressure start to recover in your system.
You mentioned it's possible that this was affected by stormwater, and yesterday was pretty rainy. It seems DeKalb has quite a few problems when we have a lot of rain. How do you make sure this doesn't happen again in another area?
So all ultimately we can do is maintain what we know about to the best of our ability. In this particular case, the stormwater infrastructure we're not responsible for as a county, but you know we partner and we do the best we can to serve the public as a whole.
Big question people want to know is when water will be fully restored, full pressure across the county. Any idea?
The plan is within hopefully the next 48 hours to have this line completely tied in and begin to put water back on it. That is the plan, that is the hope. And at that time, as far as water to the homes, to the businesses, should begin to normalize and return to normal. However, the boil water advisory won't be lifted ultimately until sample results return. We partner with EPD to review, ensure it's absolutely safe for the public, and then that will be lifted at that time.
So it could be days.
Could be days, yes.
The samples already been sent to them. Is there a typical timetable for getting results from them?
So typically, we have to take upwards of 100 or so samples, and to actually get the results back is typically a 36-hour to maybe 48-hour window, and then ultimately we review and decide at that time. So chances are by afternoon Saturday, we should kind of have an idea of what we're looking at with lifting the boil water advisory, but we hope to have the water in the system repaired at that time.
Okay, so let's go from Chief Leffler because these guys have got to get back to work. Chief Leffler.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First off, I'd like to say I can't thank our departments, our watershed, these gentlemen behind me for working so hard to be able to get us started to be stabilized and return back to normal. That's the main goal for emergency management, is to be able to respond to an emergency or disaster, mitigate it, and make sure that we can start returning to normal as soon as possible. And if y'all look right over your shoulder over there, there's a coin laundry, and there are people in there doing their laundry. So they've got enough water in there to restore that business where actually we can start to return to normal. So as of this afternoon, when pressure started coming back up, as emergency management, we've been working with the hospital systems, the state, Georgia Emergency Management Agency, and all the other agencies that we work with throughout these kinds of disasters. There are fortunately too many to name. Working with the school boards to make sure that the correct information is getting out on what we have, what the pressure's doing, how long we expect before it can be restored, and talking about how we're going to normalize again. So I will say I'm very happy to report that our schools are going back to in session tomorrow. As a matter of fact, right now, Emory University opened back up at 5 o'clock this evening. So our hospitals have returned to a normalized pressure where they can continue to do whatever it is they need to do inside the hospital, care for their patients, care for our citizens, and they are not at any substandard capabilities at this point. We are continuing to monitor the situation as it progresses. Just because the pressure seems to come back up and seems to have stabilized doesn't mean we go away. We're going to continue to monitor the situation through the end of the boil water advisory to make sure that we get everything taken care of and that the citizens' needs and the department needs here in the county get taken care of. Any questions for me?
What about bringing in water? I mean, if this is under a boil order until potentially Saturday, folks obviously can boil water, but is there an effort to bring in bottled water into the stores?
So, yeah, the stores I've seen some of the stores recently. I understand what we're talking about. A lot of folks did go out and buy out stores. Most of our departments and even the school systems and the hospitals have on hand usually at least a 3-day supply of bottled water so that they can continue to work. If that becomes an issue, we do have 3 water trailers that we can turn what we call non-potable water into potable water. So we actually have that capability. I've got 3 trailers that can do thousands of gallons in an hour, and we actually put it into plastic water bags and we can hand out if necessary. Hopefully this boil water advisory is going to be a short term and we won't have to get to that point, but we are prepared to do that if we have to.
As far as the schools and the hospitals with their water supply, do
Yes.
they also have to boil water, or do they have means of getting around that?
So no, they also have to boil water. The schools were making plans on how they were going to serve and what they were going to be able to serve during school hours tomorrow to make sure that they met the boil water advisory requirements, because what they're going to have to do is put their water fountains and their ice machines out of service until that boil water advisory is lifted.
I understand students were asked to bring water tomorrow if they could.
Some schools are asking them, yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you, people. Our crews have got to get back to work here so we can finish fixing this. But thank you for coming out, and feel free to look on our website, www.DeKalb.gov.